as we see the blue Terran, top left. It is none other than SjoW from Team Dignitas. His real name's Jeffrey. I was actually kind of blown away. Didn't look like a Jeffrey, but SjoW, cool guy.
Do you know he's actually Asian?
Is he half Asian?
I think he's half Asian.
Because he doesn't have that full Asian look to him.
Yeah.
You can just,
I think
you can
it's
always
like
tell.
half Japanese or something like that.
But yeah, no, well, half Japanese. That'd be kind of cool. But DIMAGA, he is not Japanese in the slightest, is he?
No, he is full out Ukraine.
Yeah.
The guy breathes Ukraine. It's like he's every stereotype come to life.
He's just like, whatever he does, he is like full out for, you know? Like whenever he plays Zerg, he is such like a hardcore Zerg player, you know? Just like he loves everything about it. And you know, he's like, he loves exercise, and he's like a huge exercise buff. And he's Ukrainian, and he's like super nationalistic about Ukraine. So.
You know, it's cool. Like when I think Ukrainian, I just think just what you said. Just oh no, you said nationalistic. I'm thinking passionate. You're just passionate with whatever.
That's what I
do.
meant. I didn't mean like he's exclusive to other other countries.
No, yeah, I understand what you mean. But
yeah.
I just feel like DIMAGA always puts a lot into it every single time he does something. Like it's so cool, you know. Every single time he smiles, it's like, you know, he's like gritting his teeth.
An aggressive smile.
Yeah, it's
like it's like a smile that's about to all in you, but you're not sure about it.
Exactly.
Or it's gonna be the one that just sits back and makes Boothorton swine cards. You know, I want to bring in some interesting statistics. SjoW is actually 10-9 versus DIMAGA. DIMAGA actually has been on a losing streak, losing to Select, Puma, and Pult, but those are pretty good TVZ players. And SjoW is on an 8-game winning streak against Zerg. So I did a little bit of research, Andre, before my prediction. But DIMAGA is still more than capable of taking the series. In fact, that's why we were talking about predictions. It could have gone either way.
Yeah, one thing about DIMAGA, he has really, really good decision-making at that later game stages. But I think where he falls short a little bit is his ability, not his ability, but his style. He doesn't really go for the multitasking style. I don't see him attacking in multiple places. It's very rare that I see that. If it is, he needs a lot of preparation time for it. That can be most apparent with the Zergling Baneling style against Protoss, where he just prepares
really cool,
for it. Yeah, but I don't think he's a player that just like Select, that just off the wall goes there. You know, he can do it in any case. He just likes a micro here, micro there, micro there. QXC is a very similar person like that.
Yeah, MMA loves that kind of style. Just being everywhere on the map. If you watch Select, he actually does not GG. I watch his stream actually quite a lot. He doesn't GG until his last medevac is off the field in TVZ. Like, as long as he has 8 Marines and a medevac, he still thinks he can come back to this game. And I've seen him come back from crazier things as well. So you never know. But SjoW's not one of those players. In fact, he's been notorious for having low APM. If we look, under 100 right now.
That's actually what I'm trying to reference now. Because DIMAGA doesn't really excel in that type of style, he won't be able to be super effective against SjoW. SjoW is a relatively low APM. If you don't know what that is, it's actions per minute. So the ability to do things, the amount of actions that you do every single minute. It's one of our, what is the word?
It's one of our measurements for ability. In StarCraft 2, and it's not necessarily the buy-all, end-all. It's just the idea that someone has that capability of doing that many actions and playing faster, and as a result, you know, you have the potential to outplay your opponent.
Let's check this out. 27, only 28, 29. Okay, well, a couple of drones got pushed up right there, but it's mainly Zerglings. We're gonna have metabolic boost finish.
Oh.
And he's going for a huge Zergling run by, it looks like.
This is cool. I've seen this on the Korean server that a lot of Prime members have been experimenting with. And, you know, the whole idea is Terrans usually aren't prepared for this because they go for reactored Hellions of some sort. And they're not going to have their wall prepared. And you see the Zerglings run by, and they can actually do significant damage and even force a lift if Terran isn't cautious.
Correct. Disengage from over there. And now, the Zerglings might actually be allowed into the main. Are they?
Well, the SCVs are blocking. Regardless, this is exactly what DIMAGA wants, killing off SCVs. And this is not looking good for SjoW, as right now 37 to 54 supply this early on, 25 workers to 46.
That is a nice advantage for DIMAGA. 46 drones over 25. Now you can see the mules. I always say this. For 2 orbital command centers, it's 9 SCVs. So you add that on 36 over 43. Of course, SjoW has less, you know, I guess, effective harvesters.
Yeah, and it matters more early on as you're beginning to saturate.
Correct.
Compared to later on when you have 40 workers to like 50 workers.
Correct.
And so SjoW has that to struggle through. Now SjoW has a Reaper actually on the field, I was going to point out, but he also has Hellions to kind of seize that map control. And in the end, DIMAGA didn't remake that many Zerglings, so he still has to, be accountable as he's getting his third. But SjoW is now moving out to the center. How is he choosing to follow up? He's getting Marines in combat shield as well. Okay, so
ever so standard, a starport is on the way out. So SjoW has been delayed, I think, in most of his tech. In the meantime, DIMAGA is going already for that Baneling Nest. And I like the Baneling Nest in this case. When you're doing early game pressure, want to take a super fast third and a fast fourth. This is 4 hatchery before lair.
Wow.
I don't hate this whatsoever.
Oh, it is me. He does have his Baneling Nest. He is preparing a lot. I think he senses a counterattack of some sort, but SjoW doesn't really have much going on. He just has 6 Hellions, which is enough to deny creep tumors, but for now, SjoW is actually getting ready to take a third base.
DIMAGA does have an Overlord over here on the right-hand side. He can easily get in here. If he was able to see the starport come out, he would prepare some Banelings over at his main. Now, that's one of the best ways to actually prepare for this. Another way is to actually put a Spine Crawler over here and force the Marines out. You want to actually have the Marines just staying there. That way you can have the Queens that are just going to town on that medevac. If you destroy the medevacs, you destroy the ability to continue the drops.
Yeah, and I like this, that SjoW. He realizes, hey, well, he doesn't have any kind of roaches out or anything whatsoever. And SjoW is starting to get a little bit suspicious because DIMAGA prepared a lot of Zerglings and Banelings. In fact, he stopped joining completely, and he has a Spire that's on the way. And that actually has to make SjoW feel a little bit better because normally it's like, oh, wow, I should be really behind. Zerg killed off a lot of my SCVs. But in fact, he's equalized it. Or, nope, just kidding. A few drones did pop, but for the most part, SjoW's not sitting that badly economically.
Now, I have seen a couple of Zergs this day and age just get a couple mutas. And that might sound a little bit weird, but it's actually for defensive purposes. And then you just continue getting additional upgrades on your Zerglings. More melee, more carapace. And the main reason for that is you shut down the aggression. You force your opponent to make additional medevacs, and all of a sudden you're in a great position.
SjoW playing, not responding the best way with his Marines and Hellions, not able to split. But the important thing is that the third is under heavy siege. The Baneling is trying to rush and take care of the Marines, and SjoW does pick off. But the big thing is that, again, DIMAGA forced to make a lot of units. He doesn't have that much gas left for the mutas. In fact, 370 gas. That is barely enough for 3
Yeah,
mutas.
that might be exactly what I said. He's not preparing for some sort of huge muta force. It's instead just to reduce the amount of medevacs or punish your opponent for doing those mass drops, because a lot of times you'll be in a position where you're getting double upgrades and then you're using your infestors to clear up the drops. Yes, it's inefficient, but the power is already in the Zerglings. Rely on them and then just remove the medevacs from the field. Force your opponent to concentrate more gas towards those medevacs if they want to continue the pressure rather than going to something like siege tanks or really fast upgrades, etc.
I like the fact that SjoW didn't overextend too far. He did lose some Marines and Hellions, but in the end he still kept his medevacs and was able to pull back because he wants to get his third up. And playing Turtle Terran on Antigua Shipyard can work. It's dangerous though if you just leave your Zerg opponent too long. I've seen Zergs take over completely and rush for Brood Lords, but he knows DIMAGA has invested a lot of gas into those Banelings and was not able to really get the kind of resources he needed.
That's
thus
absolutely
far.
right.
Yeah.
So he can relax a little bit. Defending here is correct because he knows his opponent is a little bit relaxed and not really pushing the hive tech too soon. So Infestation Pit, that being said, Infestation Pit is being put down. I'm sure that's for infestors. More importantly, for that hive tech, you want to start that up so you can continue your plus 3/3. If you have a plus 3/3 and Ultralisks hit at the same time, holy crap, is there a gigantic timing where you can pretty much pounce on your opponent and they don't do that much damage. They just can't.
Yeah, you're right. And SjoW, we'll see if he goes for a 2-2 Marine tank timing. That's actually kind of like a huge thing that a lot of Terrans in North America have been doing, especially Illusion. I've been watching a lot of his stream as well. Kawhi Rice also loves doing this in TVZ. Yeah. And I mean, Marine effectiveness when it hit 2-2, especially with +1 vehicular weapons, is very efficient, especially on Antigua Shipyards. And we see, again, the fast hive there from DIMAGA. His 4th expansion is pretty out there, but You know, when Zerg doesn't take a center expansion, that we see them kind of stray away from that. Why do you think, well, can we explain a little bit to people why the center expansion isn't that desirable for Zerg anymore?
It's because it shortens the push distance for the Terran, so all they have to do is take that center control and they've removed your 4th base or whatever base this center control would be, or the center expansion. And that's a big problem because you don't want that to happen. You want as much of time as possible so that you can build up a huge army, similar to what we see in the middle of the map.
39 Banelings already on the map. 33 Banelings in production. That'll carry us to 72. If my math serves correctly. Is there? Oh, okay, good. I was like, there's only 66. 6 more just finished. 72 Banelings. And DIMAGA gearing up for a massive, massive attack of some sorts. But SjoW looks pretty fortified here. At least he knows it with the center tower. The Banelings not really splitting up whatsoever. DIMAGA crashing into whatever he can see.
Holy
SjoW trying to split up his army as best as possible. But there might be too many Banelings here. Or will they? Looks like SjoW picks up on some of his medevacs. A lot of supply depots are absorbing the damage, and DIMAGA, in the end, how much damage did he do, Andre?
He did a lot of damage. The 3rd base being taken out, as we can see, Marine sprinting on over. The resource loss tab, though, is in favor of SjoW. That's a very big surprise right here. Of course, everybody probably figured the opposite way around, but the fact of the matter is we have a harvester lead for DIMAGA. 77 drones to 51 SCVs. The 4th is delayed. And here we go, a drop over here on the 3rd base. Not going to really do that much damage. Actually, it gets cleaned up. He should have picked up right there. But overall, I do like that for DIMAGA. You can see the siege tank count is pretty low. And the Marine count, well, I guess the Marine count doesn't matter as much since they're pretty cheap. But the medevac count is still there. That might be a little bit of a problem.
I was surprised at how low amount of tanks SjoW had, considering he had 2 factory. He could have stayed on 1 and utilized his gas a little bit otherwise, but or at least in terms of utilize his resources otherwise. But SjoW, for the most part, still has a pretty kick-in 3 base economy. Triple SUV can get him back pretty quickly. +2/+2 did finish, and he's starting +3. We see Zerglings trying to run by again, catching some of those Marines. But SjoW, again, he's not utilizing this medevac in the bottom center. I want him to start dropping that 4th, which is pretty exposed and defensive.
I do want to say that the attack that DIMAGA did hit right before the 2-2 finish, so right now SjoW has no 2-2 timing, right? All of his units have been used. That's pretty important because DIMAGA needs this huge amount of time before he gets his 3-3 up. And of course his Infestor's out, the Broodlord's out. There's a lot of different things that he needs. He needs a lot of time. So that attack, I think, theoretically is perfect for DIMAGA. It's a perfect time right before 2-2 hits, so you basically stop any potential pushes that SjoW has.
The biggest thing now is Greater Spire has completed, and Corruptors are out onto the field. SjoW has to do something because, or, I mean, he's taking a center expansion here. Do you agree with that? The way that SjoW's had momentum in this game, do you think he can defend that adequately?
It's tough to say, but I think
it's tough to say. Right?
I think overall it is the correct decision. Okay. I wouldn't see him taking a 4th in any other position. The only way he could really take a 4th, and let's say the top right or bottom left, is if he already established center control and he has a lot of attacks going down, a lot of harass, if you will. Yeah. But he doesn't have that. So taking the center expansion is the only expansion he can really take, unless he wants to open himself up to an amazing amount of attacks that DIMAGA can do. But here we go, Broodlords tracking themselves across the map, and they will be able to fire down on some of these SCVs and the Planetary Fortress.
There's not as many Infestors as normal per 200 attack with Broodlords, but the biggest thing is that SjoW actually completed the Planetary Fortress. He can't lift it off of any kind. SjoW is moving over towards the western part of the map. He scans and sees a lot of Zerglings, not a lot of Banelings either, so this is actually a good spot for SjoW if you want to engage, but he's not sieged up yet, and he did end up taking a lot of damage. His Marines didn't split either, getting caught by the Fungals. DIMAGA does clean up, lose a lot of supply though. Actually, a significant amount of supply.
I think that was a big misstep for DIMAGA. There were too many Zerglings there. 144 Zerglings in total. You can see all of them died right there. Additionally, the 3rd base is under attack, and now the 4th base. It looks like there's a mounted assault over here. Nice Baneling explosions. SjoW terribly mismicroing that, but look, he's just going to push on. DIMAGA doesn't have any units around in the area. The 3rd base gets taken out. The 4th base gets taken out. SjoW Oh my gosh, pulling way ahead now. DIMAGA doesn't have any economy. He's only on his natural. And look at that, that's mining out pretty fast. So he needs to find somewhere where he can take an expansion.
The Zergling's going for a flank. The tanks are not protected. But SjoW does manage to clean up the important things. You know, the fact that DIMAGA doesn't have that much gas left. So SjoW actually takes a supply lead. Very good job there by our Terran from Team Dignitas, getting a couple Thors out onto the field.
Interesting choice for Thors. That's, I think, in a response to the Ultras. But right now, I think DIMAGA is saying to himself, I need to push, and I need to push now. There's no better time because my opponent just, you know, just put on a crippling blow to me. If I try to play this macro, he's gonna increase a lot in his army a lot faster.
And we see the Broodlords moving out ahead of time. SjoW actually scans and sees the Infestor positioning, doesn't want to get fungled whatsoever. Gonna try to see, but a massive stim, and the Broodlords are completely unprotected. The Infestors, no response on them whatsoever. Although now we see fungals and the Ultra is going to work. The Thors are arriving to the battlefield, and these fungals are brutal. Whoa, a lot of Marines are dying here.
These Thors will take out his opponent so fast. You can see the Ultras dying.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they die at a rapid rate, and the Marines will stay strong because they have those medevacs to heal up. Looks like 9 medevacs out in the field, and these Queens, they're not in a good position.
Yeah, they are transfusing each other as fast as possible, but DIMAGA actually says that's a waste of APM. He'd rather take care of everything else at his other bases. The drop in the bottom left finally getting cleaned up here. SjoW didn't really manage to do anything. DIMAGA leaving one Ultralist to clean it up. And SjoW realizes that if he takes these other expansions away from Zerg, that's it. DIMAGA has nothing left, so this is a critical time for DIMAGA, but he is down in supplies so significantly, 60 to 150. SjoW pushing in here. There's almost nothing left worth of meat. GG.
And SjoW is going to take game number 1 on Antigua Shipyard. Congratulations to him. He is 1 game away from taking that $150. And really well played overall. I think... you know, it kind of equalized out. If anything, DIMAGA had that advantage going into that mid game, but I feel that that end game, DIMAGA played that a little bit off. SjoW played that well. I do want to give him a little bit.
You mean the 140 Zergling?
Yeah, the 144.
That's overdoing it just a little bit.
Well, they just don't do anything.
Against
Zergling,
3-3 Marines.
Exactly, 3-3 Marines. Well, it is 3-3 upgraded Zerglings.
That's true.
They just don't do nearly as much damage. They get clumped together. Siege tanks do amazing damage. With the amount of medevacs out in the field, not enough Banelings, you're just not able to get the job done. They weren't trading cost efficiently, and that being said, that huge supply advantage that that SjoW took from that, he was able to just snowball that and take 2 bases from that. And once you take 2 bases from your opponent that has only 4 bases, well, they're pretty much screwed.
Yeah, they are in big trouble. Thank you so much to the sponsor of that game. It was iBuyPower. Go to iBuyPower.com to buy your pre-assembled computers. I need to get one for myself. I'm moving next week close to the studio. No more 1-hour commutes. I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for the next game, game number 2 between SjoW and DIMAGA. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this commercial.